this series the pieces were made in 2005, 2007. I think one of them is 2008. And they are the development of a work that I started some years before when I stopped painting, because my regular work is painting. And for 2 years I stopped painting. And I started to do a very tiny, small sculptures in Fimo, which is kind of plasticine. It's this material, but it hardens and it stays. It stays like it is. So it's quite stable material in terms of color and so on. But it's a work that I started without any kind of idea of being an artwork. So I was doing these pieces when I was living in London in 97, 98. With only just did the pieces for pleasure. They were really tiny, they were about this size, minuscule. And 10 years after, I realized that there was something in this work that I wanted to develop and give it a kind of public scale, although the sculptures are very small, but they are public in the sense that they're not microscopic anymore. And the idea about this work was basically to work with materials that are, I would say, unconventional in terms of sculpture, because this is the material that children use to make their toys and some people to make jewelry and so on. And I found this material really interesting because it's not plastic, but it's not organic at the same time. It's like in the middle of something that is industrial and other thing, some aspects that are quite very specific and very, in some sense organic, or have a quality of colors which is amazing. And then I just started to do very different pieces. Some were objects like this, it's a roof, I had some pillows. Others were like mythological animals. Others were trees. There is a series of trees. So I would say that this series at the Mudam combines, I would say, the major ways of development that these kind of work had during, I would say, 4 years more or less. And
you created a huge amount of little sculptures like
yes,
that. I mean, there is no beginning and no end in a way.
Yes, and also in the sense that it's still the work that I go back to. I'm not doing these sculptures at the moment. I'm doing bronze pieces. I'm enlarging the scales of the sculptures. But this is the work that I go back to also. Some of the pieces that I'm doing now in different materials come from these pieces, so I don't consider them models, but some of them have this kind of possibility of becoming something different in a larger scale, in a different material.
In fact, it seems that every sculpture has its own potential in a way. As you said, they are not models, they are sculpture in itself, but they could be developed more. And also in the association that you make. For the first show you did in Mudam, there was already an association which changed a lot. And what is interesting is also the link created between each sculpture. I mean, it's always a group and also individual. And so that's also very interesting.
It's true. I mean, they have to be very intense in terms of the things they have. They have to be very clear in the shape that they present. And I like the work from Godard, which he said, il faut faire des images claires, des idées vagues. And this is, what I try to do in a certain sense. They have to be very, very sharp and very clear. It's a red tree and that's it, or it's a poof and that's it. But then it's more than that. I think there is a lot of connections, also into art history terms, some that go back to Greek mythology. Others go to Surrealism or symbolism. Others go to minimalism, like the more minimal objects that I've been doing.
But they are never representation. We can link them to minimalism or some...
They are kind of condensed images of art history or the world, if we want to speak. And I like this kind of also transitional aspect, quality of the works, because at some point I find that, well, we look at them as artworks, but it's not so clear in a sense that they look like toys, or they look like objects produced industrially, and I like this crossing of also materially, and the scale, of course. The scale is very important in terms of it's also what the scale and the kind of material that is used, this Fimo and the metal wire and so on. It's what makes possible like things that come from so many different places, you know, in culture or subculture, whatever, and they are put together as brothers, I would say, like as elements of the same family, so to speak. And the way that they are shown, I've always been trying, which I find it's here, always been trying in the shows to not to make any kind of connection which is narrative, or you know, like putting the animals in one side, the objects in the other one, and doing exactly the opposite, which is the object that is shown close to the other one, instead of creating a narrative or a potential idea of, you know, kind of an explanation, whatever. It makes the opposite. It kind of cuts the meaning, so that everything is put in kind of a suspension or transitional. We don't know where it is.
Yes, in fact, there is no indication of space, no indication of time either. I mean, that's not the point. We can imagine some relation, but nothing is sure.
Well, there is also some things that go back to some of my references. I've always been very, always liked the Chambre de Merveille, all these 16th, 17th century kind of proto-museums where the nobles would collect strange, you know, and combine them as, you know, everything would come from exotic places on planet Earth. Well, exotism it's no longer possible in a certain kind of sense. You know, everything is there. It's simultaneous. It's here. It's present. It's not very far. So it's the situation of our contemporary state, you know, goes back to these traditions in a sense of. So I wouldn't say that these are Chambre de Merveille or that these are curious objects, but they have this kind of simulation of something that is, you know, coming from a different world. We don't know what it is, but the world is here. It's not. It's simultaneous. The layers are together.
Yeah. I remember when we chose the first selection of the work for the collection that you underlined the importance of the object, having in the selection having also some objects, so that it opens in a way.
Yes.
There is no specific meaning, but
it widens.
Exactly.
It's like it's important in this series to have this kind of combination of different, also formal structures. So this is why the objects are so important. Or that figure, which is very abstract, to be close to a bat, that is very Gothic, kind of Tim Burton or Cronenberg connection.
And so you said that now you are developing new projects.
Yes.
In relation with what you've done before, but different in the material, different in the scale.
It's a development of what these works are, I would say. They're not very different, but I'm painting more than doing sculpture on these materials, and I'm enlarging the scale of the sculptures and working in bronze and aluminium.
Which is totally different.
Totally different.
With the plastic, with the Fimo, it's very flexible. I mean, it's very not easy, but you can feel the organic dimension of it.
Yeah.
And bronze is for eternity.
It's a new challenge.
So the relationship with time.
It's a very interesting material,
Have you been working with?
I've been
glass
working
before?
also in terms of the quality of the surface because I'm working in Spain with a new foundry I found, and they are very good in the patinas. So I'm doing a lot of work there with the workers to find the right, the specific color and the specific kind of surface to each piece. But it's very different in the sense that it's a material that is connected to the tradition of sculpture in a much more 19th century, I would say, way. It's kind of
What do you mean by?
well, the monument, the
Okay,
bronze,
yeah.
you know, it's like
And the public
go back,
space too.
and the public space. So it's a new thing. Let's see what it does.
We'll see.
Yeah.